Hey guys, Tim here. Today we're going to work on this Silverstone Sugo SG09 m-ATX build. The first thing we're going to do today is mount the processor. It's a i5 3570K, and all you have to do is you release the little tension arm and pull up the plate. You can see the plate is up, and you align, if you guys can see it, there's a little gold triangle in the corner, and you find the little gold triangle on the board, which is right here, the bottom left. You gently sit it straight down. You don't need to apply any force with the new Intel socket types. And then we're going to gently put down the tension plate so that it's under its mounting screw, and firmly but gently push down the tension arm and tuck it in, and there you go. Now that that's installed, I'm going to go ahead and install the Intel water block. And here's what it looks like. It's actually got a blue LED on it. It looks pretty nice. And I'll tell you what, I don't see what I did with the screws, so I will be right back, guys. Okay, screw situation sorted out. The first thing you want to do is figure out how you want to position the radiator in the build. Now this build's a little tight, so I may have some fussing around here, and what I like to do is hang the water block over my arm just to try to protect it a little while I'm just measuring up to see, right where things would go, and that looks like that'll be pretty good. So what I like to do is try to get one of the top two corners. We'll see if I can do this one-handed. One of the top two corners started and screwed in, and not all the way tight, and then I do the other top corner, and top is subjective here. It's top to however you have the case lying down. So now I can hang the water block over where it's still protected and finish up the last two screws in the bottom. Personally, I like the water coolers better than tower coolers. I just feel like, even if they just do the same job as a tower cooler, that they're much quieter. I do feel like they're better performance, especially on overclocking. I like to overclock the majority of my chips because, why do you buy a K SKU if you're not going to overclock the baby, right? So now we're going to screw down the retention plate, and on these Intel water coolers, I've already put the back plate on here. It just pokes through the standard holes in the motherboard with some adhesive tape to hold it on the board and give it a little bit of a standoff. With some of these water coolers, they have this tension ring, and I'm not a big fan of this design. I get, it's a little cheaper to do, but like the H100 has a much better design for how the water block screws down. It's a lot easier, and as you guys are probably gonna see, I'm gonna have some problems with this because I do every time I mount this, and you just barely want to get the threads started. Excuse my head for poking in here, guys. This is one of the harder things on this build to do. This is not the easiest setup, although I really do like this water cooler. It's actually an Antec cooler made for Intel. And I find that the fan actually looks really good and does a really good job. So I've got that started. As you can see, man, you really want to thread it in as little as possible. You're going to see that even with barely threading it in, I'm actually going to probably have a hard time getting that on there. Now, thermal paste. Everybody has, I'm going to zoom you guys in here and move you over a little. Everybody has a slightly different way that they like to do thermal paste. So the way I like to do it is I like the line method, and excuse the jittering, guys, I'm filming this by myself, so I'm trying to do the best I can for you. What I like to do is the line method. So an Intel CPU is a rectangle. Under this heat spreader is a rectangle. My philosophy is you want thermal paste on the whole pad, but you need to ensure that where this, especially where the CPU is, has the proper amount, and the CPU chip under here actually is almost the full length of the heat spreader. I feel like the grain of rice method or the P method doesn't quite get enough for the whole length of the card. So what I like to do, excuse the jittering here, guys, I like to start at the bottom. Let's see if I can get some of this out even. And I do a little bit, and then I like to go a little thicker in the middle and then thin back out on the outside. So that is a fair amount. There will be a little spread over on the edges probably, but it will spread out. If you're real gentle and rock it a little when you push it down, it will spread out pretty evenly. And there's actually some good videos by Logan from Tech Syndicate on how the thermal grease looks like when it's spread out. He did it with a piece of clear plastic so you can see. While I do agree that the P method gets more uniform coverage, I just prefer this. Realistically, I think as long as you get the proper amount on, then you're going to be fine. So I'm going to go ahead now and zoom you guys back out. Move you back over a little bit. So I'm going to try to get this water block on here. And like I mentioned before, excuse me if this is slightly ridiculous trying to put this on here. I'm probably going to get way in your guys' way. And for me, it's important to have the Intel logo facing the right direction. And see, I already can't get it underneath. Which corner? If you guys ever install one of these, you'll understand that it has to fit under these little tabs. There we go. See, I had to loosen one of the corner screws there. And then what I like to do is remotely tighten two opposite corners. You don't want to tighten them too much. And then with a screwdriver and a very light touch, I'm going to torque opposite corners. And you just want to go, a few turns, and then go to the opposite corner and do a few turns, and then go to the opposite corner and do a few turns. Just kind of keep working your way in a plus pattern or across an X pattern until you have it all the way tightened. You don't want to over tighten these, but on this design there's actually a stop so that you can't over tighten the screws. At the same time, why risk it? Just be gentle. When you hit resistance, stop. So that's all tightened down. Okay, so now that that's all tight, just make sure. Yep. Okay, we're on there. You can see the Intel logo there. Looks pretty good. Well, maybe you guys can actually. Now you can see the Intel logo there. Looks pretty good. We're going to plug the 4-pin here. I've already plugged the fan into the water block, and I like to try to keep these, as close together as possible just for looks. And then you're going to find your 4-pin, which on this board is way up at the top here. and just plug that in. And this might be a little tricky because it's right up against the fan. But I think we'll be able to get it here. There we go. So the inside of this case, I'm going to do the best job I can to maximize airflow. It is a small case. Cable management's going to be a problem. I mean, that's what you sacrifice when you go to a much smaller case than standard. So we'll see how it goes, but I think that's enough for this video. I'm going to install the power supply and do a little cable management in the next video, and then the hard drives, and finish it up. So this is Tim for Timmy Tech TV. Please subscribe, guys, and we'll see you next time.